Our guest today is Germany's best-known feminist, Alice Schwarzer. We'll be talking about Islam and women's rights. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the DW interview. I'm Thomas Spahn. Ms. Schwarzer, who was the most important man in your life?
My grandfather. He raised me. I grew up with my grandparents. My grandmother read a lot and she talked about politics. And my grandfather had a very maternal side.
A maternal grandfather and political grandmother.
It was unusual.
So, in their way, they fulfilled a feminist ideal, overcoming rigid gender roles.
That's right. By the way, I think that this early formative experience got me thinking, hey, men can be emotional and nurturing, and women can study politics. That had a big influence on me.
There's been a lot of progress in women's emancipation over the last 50 years. You've contributed to it. Your new book deals with the sexual assaults in Cologne on New Year's Eve. Were those crimes the result of a misguided immigration policy?
Yes, but not only that. First, it became very clear to me, as the details started to come out, that there were parallels to what happened on Tahrir Square in Cairo in 2011, when women were attacked by mobs in the same way. Thousands of men, individuals and little groups, swooped down on the women, surrounded them, and assaulted them. The parallels were apparent immediately, and we soon found out that the Cologne assailants came from Muslim cultures. What surprised me about this situation is that the perpetrators appear to have been almost exclusively refugees and illegal immigrants. I was also amazed that the police kept everything quiet for so long. And I was surprised by the behavior of some politicians. So the police didn't intervene, and the politicians may even have attempted a cover-up.
Why was that?
It's failed integration. We don't judge the people who come to us by the same standards. We don't tell them that the rights to which they are entitled come with some responsibilities. Instead, we tolerate a double standard. Well, they're Muslims, that's how they are. Their daughters can't go to the disco, and their wives don't leave the house, and so forth. That's all nonsense. What's more, the majority of Muslims, including those who live among us, have been taken over by this radical minority, the Islamists, and politicized Islam. I make a very clear distinction about that. These people were not protected from the radicals, and we weren't protected from the radicals either.
Were the perpetrators in Cologne Islamists?
Yes, because it's clear that they came from an Islamic culture. We know that they behaved unusually disrespectfully toward the police. They clearly don't recognize the authority of the police. And they regard women as subhuman. They believe that women who are on the street at night are sluts and should be treated as such. That's the philosophy of political Islam, to place Sharia law above constitutional law and to make women subordinate to men. But not every perpetrator in Cologne was a card-carrying member of some group.
But I'd like to...
But that is what political Islam has to offer Muslim men today. You're not just some stupid loser on the corner. You can become a holy warrior.
But lots of Muslim men here in Germany believe that women should be subordinate to men. They get it from the Quran and patriarchal family structures. Not all of these people are Islamists, are they?
No. First, I think this is no longer the case in most Muslim families. And Islam covers a broad spectrum. At the radical end of the spectrum is the self-proclaimed Islamic State, which has overrun entire countries. Then there are the agitators who are paid by Saudi Arabia and are trained in Iran or Pakistan. They go into Muslim communities in Europe and incite young men. They say, you don't need to learn anything, you're already worth more than women and infidels. They pay families to make their daughters wear a hijab. And we have Muslims who believe in Sharia law and live in the past. They're the ones who often dominate in the Muslim associations in Europe. So there's no clear boundary between Muslim and Islamist. But I would speak of Sharia Muslims if they believe that Sharia law is superior to constitutional law.
Regardless of what you call it, what is the future of Islam in Germany? Will there be more incidents like those in Cologne?
Cologne was not only a shock for us Germans, it was a shock for the whole world. When Germans travel overseas, everyone asks them, what happened in Cologne? So what did happen? Up to 2,000 men stood around while groups of men and individuals assaulted more than 600 women. That's the number of complaints that have been filed. For hours, the law broke down completely in that part of town. The police didn't intervene, and that was a shock. We've never seen that before. We've had sexual violence in families, sometimes at the disco or at Oktoberfest by individuals or even groups. But it's unprecedented for large numbers of men to drive women off the streets like this. What we have to do now is correct our policy and start actively integrating the Muslims who live here. We have to counteract the propaganda of these extremist activists. And we have to take a closer look at the hundreds of thousands of refugees who are coming to us to escape war and often the violence of the Islamists.
That doesn't sound much like the ideal multicultural society where people can do what they like.
Absolutely. Human rights are inviolable. And the majority of the refugees don't come to us because we're the first port in a storm. They've placed their hope in us. They want the rule of law and democracy. Of course, some of the men need a bit of remedial instruction. They come from countries where women have no rights. Women in Islamic countries are the equivalent of minors. They're dependent on their fathers, brothers, or husbands. We women's rights advocates here in the West have worked hard to put a stop to all that. There are still a few problems that we have to deal with. We can give the refugees some time to adjust. But there is no place here for men who think they can force women off the streets.
Let's talk a little about you personally. Your ideas have generated a lot of discussion, and you're politically active. You've brought about some major changes, but what was your biggest mistake? The tax evasion case? No.
No, that has nothing to do with the things I stand for. I made a mistake with my taxes and I paid a big price for it. I was ridiculed in the media. In any case, it has nothing to do with my personal politics.
Some of your colleagues might say that your comments on refugees and Muslims in Germany sound like they might have come from the right-wing extremist movement Pegida. Does that bother you?
No, in fact, the opposite is the case. For decades, all the political parties have ignored or played down the problem of politicized Islam, not Islam per se. That's religion, so it's a private and personal matter. But we need to be aware of the effects and excesses of political Islam. And I think this is the main reason why, for the first time in Germany since 1945, we unfortunately have strong right-wing populist and even right-wing extremist movements.
Eine starke rechtspopulistische und sogar rechtsextreme Strömung haben.
We Democrats have failed to address public concern about these developments. So the right-wingers have picked it up. And many Muslims are upset too. They write to congratulate me for finally telling it like it is. We've driven people into the right-wing camp. It's high time that we put a stop to this sham policy of tolerance and begin treating the Islamists, who are, after all, the fascists of the 21st century, the same way we treat right-wing extremists. Because that's what they are. No more sham tolerance. We need integration policies that are genuine and proactive.
Ms. Schwarzer, at the end of our interview, we ask our guests to complete 3 sentences.
Oh no, that's the worst.
I tell men who think I'm humorless,
I laugh at them.
we're sitting in a medieval vault here. In the Middle Ages, I would have
Perhaps been a master craftswoman. That's a solid profession. They had them here in Cologne.
From women in Germany, I expect
That they know, A, that they sometimes have to make compromises. You can't have everything. You can't always have both a family and a brilliant career, and B, they need to make demands on their men. Don't always talk to men as if they were children to be humored. That's just how he is. I'll have to find a way to manipulate him. They should hash things out with the men as equals.
Alice Schwarzer, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.